known General Bipin Rawat for a very long time and known the family as well. Indeed, the entire military community is shocked at the sudden demise of the CDS and his family, as well as the rest of the crew. And he was an upright, bright young man, grew up to be an excellent professional and a person who followed through on what was desired of him. And to that extent, he did tremendously well to come up to the level and become the first CDS of the country.
And General Kapoor, he was a soldier who breathed army and lived army. He was always there. The accounts clearly talk about his caliber, his vision, and how he had a heart to be the first CDS, because he believed in things. He believed in the whole army, the whole armed forces going on together. Without a clear line of succession, do you think he leaves behind huge boots to fill in?
Without doubt. But I would like to say the biggest contribution that he was trying to make, and it was the process of happening, was the aspect of bringing in jointness between the three wings of the military, that is the Army, Navy, and the Air Force. Jointness which has been not fully coming through as far as the Indian military is concerned, unlike the US, the Russians, and the Chinese militaries, which have already gone ahead a step ahead of us in terms of jointness. What General Rawat was very hard workingly trying was to bring in jointness, and that is how the concept of the theater commands was going to be coming in. And that would have been the biggest tribute to military fighting as far as the Indian military is concerned. And once jointness does come in the fashion that is required, I'm sure the military would acquit itself extremely well and give a tremendous account of itself in any future issues or problems that the country may face.
Since you're talking about that jointness, he certainly was the first man who had to think purple, mixture of three service colors. And while thinking purple, he may have stepped on some toes. It was, as you pointed out, the aim was jointness. How necessary it is to ensure that jointness, particularly given the fact that the changes that we are witnessing in the geopolitical atmosphere?
Jointness in today's environment of war fighting is extremely important. And it is important that each and every service, all the three service wings, contribute to supporting each other in a fashion, in a seamless fashion, so that the result that they desire can be achieved with lightning speed, with precision, with accuracy, and the desired outcome is achieved with least amount of effort. So to that extent, bringing in jointness is important. There are a number of service specific issues which the three services do have, and there are differences at times. What General Bipin Rawat's approach was to try and minimize those differences, bring about jointness, and I think the biggest tribute that we can pay to the General, now that he's departed, God bless his soul, is to ensure that this jointness, for which he was very assiduously working, comes through fully and in the next couple of years, so that the military goes ahead to perform its task of ensuring the territorial integrity of the country and ensuring that the national security interests of the nation are fully maintained and taken care of.
Yes, that certainly is the need of the hour, because the new war fighting needs it. Then General Kapoor, what was the nature of the last conversation you had with him?
Well, we talked about the role of the CDS when I just met him about a month back, and we talked about what all the CDS has to still accomplish, what has been accomplished, and what is still to be accomplished, and what is left. And so it was a detailed discussion for which into which I cannot go through right now. But he had a vision. He had a feeling that the Indian military can achieve a lot by going ahead with jointness, and that vision he was trying to put into practice and ensure that it comes about as quickly as possible. At times, he had to weather differences among service specific issues, but he was trying to handle all those. And those are specific differences which I would not like to go in detail right now.
Absolutely.
But what he was trying to do was to smoothen those rough edges and to bring about a smooth transition from a service specific environment to that of a joint environment. And that creation of the theater commands was one of the first major steps which had to be taken, which he was in the process of trying to implement as smoothly as possible.
All right, General Deepak Kapoor, appreciate your time. Air Marshal Bhatia, the black box has been recovered. The weather before the crash wasn't bad. The eyewitness accounts are suggesting that the chopper just dived. Then looking at the wreckage, what do you think would have gone wrong in those 5 minutes before what could have been a smooth landing?
Yes, as we all know, the helicopter's CVR, that is the cockpit voice recorder, and the FTR, that is the flight data recorder, both have been discovered. And they will be properly analyzed by the Court of Inquiry, which is going to be headed by Air Marshal Manvinder Singh. It's a tri-service inquiry. And I personally know Air Marshal Manvinder Singh, and I'm sure a thorough job will be done in understanding as to what was the cause of the accident. The few videos that we have been seeing, it suggests that as he was coming in for the last leg, that means into approach for landing, that he may have run into some sort of a poor visibility condition. Okay, so we don't know at this stage whether it was technical failure, whether it was a human error, or it was what we call in bad weather CFIT, or controlled flight into terrain, or whether it was anything else. I'm sure the Court of Inquiry will go into all these details, even including sabotage, because even that cannot be ruled out. But all these things will be minutely examined, and we will come to know as to what exactly happened. Talking about General Rawat, I can describe him in 3 words. He was a brave soldier, a brilliant officer, and a great leader. As he used to mention, he used to talk about the ethos of the armed forces, when he used to talk about 5 things, that is Naam, Namak, Nishan, Wafadari, and Izzat. And this particular ethos is all pervasive. It is not only for the Army, but also for the Navy and the Air Force and all other wings of the armed forces. I also remember meeting him. We did not belong to the same service, so obviously we did not work together during our service careers. But I used to meet him very often during lectures, during seminars, and on the lawns of Air House during social functions. I do recall complimenting him on how the Army had handled the Doklam, crisis in 2017 when he was the Army Chief. And later on, when he became the CDS, I did tell him that now your plate is going to be fuller, your hands are going to be that much fuller. And he only smiled at me and he says, I'll do my best.
And that's certainly Air Marshal
some viewers who may not
Bhatia,
know.
This is what perhaps his legacy would be, because just about every officer that I've spoken to in the last few hours, they have a personal story of communication, of kind of conversation with late Bipin Rawat.